Good afternoon. My name is Frida Mena, and for my final evaluation, I will present as a topic law and ethics regarding euthanasia. I believe it is important to introduce the topic by saying euthanasia, which is the act of or practice of painlessly putting to death persons suffering from painful and incurable diseases or incapacitating physical disorder, has been an object of a complex debate in philosophy of law, considering both legal and ethical perspectives. Euthanasia is legally prohibited in almost all the world since it is considered to threaten life, which is a fundamental legal right. In fact, euthanasia is only legal in 9 countries where it is considered a mechanism for exercising the right to a dignified death. And in ethics, the debate regarding euthanasia is, well, highly complex. Although the number of people who believe it should be accepted under the basis of individual autonomy and the relief of suffering has grown, there are still a large number of people who believe and argue that euthanasia is a way for devaluing human life and that its practice in the countries in which it is legal has generated fear in vulnerable groups, coupled with the fact that euthanasia goes against the fundamental ethical principle of medicine, primum non nocere, which means that doctors make a commitment to never cause harm on the patient under any circumstances. And well, my position on euthanasia is, well, against its legalization because although it is considered by some as a way of exercising the right to self-determination or even as an act to protect human dignity when facing a fatal diagnosis through what they call a dignified death, it involves moral, ethical, social, and even legal risks that instead could undermine human dignity and give rise to abuse on vulnerable groups of people. And well, in week 14 of the course, we reviewed the topic of legal, moral, and ethical issues, one of them being euthanasia. And for the purpose of sustain my stance and clearly relate my topic with the content reviewed in class, I find it important to mention the article Legalizing Euthanasia or Assisted Suicide, the illusion of safeguards and controls, written by Jose Pereira of the Division of Palliative Care of the University of Ottawa. And well, in this article, the author argues that the legalization of euthanasia has failed to provide effective controls in order to prevent abuse and misuse of this practice. Also, well, laws and safeguards are regularly ignored and transgressed in all jurisdictions where euthanasia is legal. For example, in Netherlands, one of the major safeguards to prevent the misuse of the practice of euthanasia is that the requesting person must provide explicit written consent and must be at the time the request is made competent. However, more than 500 people in the Netherlands are euthanized involuntarily every year. On the other hand, a legal argument to support my stance is that the practice of euthanasia transgresses the right to life recognized by the Article 1 of the Constitution, which states that all persons shall enjoy the human right recognized by the Constitution and the international treaties, which the Mexican state is a party that relates with the American Convention on Human Rights, commonly known as the Pact of San Jose, which explicitly recognizes the right to life in its Article 4, which states that every person has the right to have their life respected and that this right must be protected by law and in general from the moment of conception. And while under this reasoning, Mexico being part of the international treaty, which is legally binding, must protect at all matters the right to life, which is actually one of, well, the most fundamental human right, and that actually serves as a prerequisite for enjoying all the other human rights, including the ones that those people that are in favor of euthanasia claim to protect. And well, to conclude, I stand that despite that the arguments that defend the legalization of euthanasia by considering is a way of exercising certain rights, it has been proven by the arguments provided that its legalization involves moral, ethical, legal, and social risk that could jeopardize the rights of vulnerable people, even if the legalization includes different controls and safeguards.